dangerous new tool. This is a cautionary tale that was influenced by personal experience, many of them, of being pitched AI tools that didn't seem to be a whole lot of anything. Snake oil products. I became fed up of them and the boldness of their offerings. So this is in part calling those people out. Their brazenness left me bristling on several occasions. But it's also influenced by a few real-life stories that I have reliably been told are unfolding right now in one or two giant corporations. The details of this fairy tale is a composite of these real examples where poor diligence was exercised in the selection and deployment of AI in high-stakes communication, like multilingual patient-facing documentation or tools to assist real-world experience research. For legal reasons, the characters in the story are invented, honest to God, and Scout's honour. No, I'm kidding, of course. I just changed their names and their job titles, but yeah, they are based on real people, and this is their story. So if you are sitting comfortably, I shall begin. Once upon a time, in a kingdom of glass towers, sleek meeting rooms with abstract artwork and green reading lamps and a Newton's cradle, there lived a self-described business leader and disruptor called Sebastian Pyle. Sebastian Pyle was a senior vice president of transformation, a title he carried with both confidence and care. He spoke ceaselessly of progress, of transformation, of the necessity of moving ahead of the curve rather than following it. In his view, these things went way beyond operational matters to being the concerns of high leadership. And though he didn't speak of it openly, he had long believed that the right program that was sufficiently visible, sufficiently ambitious, and above all, sufficiently successful might carry him to the board. He had seen others reach it in just such a way. He knew that failure to do this had been the reason he had been overlooked in the past. It was therefore of particular interest to him when an invitation appeared in his calendar, brief in description but suggestive in tone. Introductory call, Global Language Optimization Limited, external. No further context was provided. This, Sebastian Pyle understood, was often deliberate. The meeting took place in a large room, whose proportions implied importance, and seated around the table were members of his senior team. Dr. Colin Throckmorton, Program Director for Enterprise AI Implementation. Mr. Alistair Pembley Ward, Principal Director for the Global Patient. Dr. Daniela Fortescue, Director of Quality Assurance and Compliance. Stress always falls on the second syllable, so Fortescue, and woe betide anybody who pronounces it Fortescue or Fortescue. Miss Hannah Peregrine, Head of Strategic Communications and Innovation Narrative. And Mr. Peter Thistlethwaite, Senior Operations Manager for Content Delivery and Localization. And at the far end of the table sat the visitors. Mr. Julian Price, co-founder and co-chief executive of Global Language Optimization Limited, held the additional title of Chief Architect of Scalable Semantic Conversion and Future-Aligned Expression Systems. And then Miss Leah Silkstone, co-founder and co-chief executive officer and global lead for universal language harmonization and post-local comprehension design. Neither title was explained. Nobody required or asked for explanation. Julian Price began without introduction. Language, he said after a moment's stillness, is the final bottleneck of scalable understanding. The sentence hung in the room. Nobody interrupted it. He continued, "What we are building is not translation. It is not generation in the conventional sense. It is the orchestration of meaning across dynamic semantic environments, allowing us to move beyond static equivalence into continuous convergence. There was a pause, during which everybody nodded along, not so much out of comprehension but recognition. It was the kind of language that suggested importance without inviting immediate scrutiny. It felt like straight out of a TED Talk or ChatGPT. Leah Silkstone followed. "We are moving," she said, "from language as artifact to language as flow. Our system does not translate between languages. It dissolves the boundary conditions that separate them." Alistair Pembley Ward adjusted his pen slightly. Daniela Fortescue wrote something in her notebook she would later see were the words ORC, O-R-C-H, but crossed out and then static. "At the center of this," Julian Price said, "is what we call core trademark, the contextual output rendering engine." The name appeared on the screen behind him. The audience saw that it was capitalized and trademarked. This made it look important and complete. "It allows us to ensure that all content is contextually aligned, regardless of language, region, or format." Nobody asked how. Sebastian Pyle watched the room. He observed the silence, the nodding. He recognized this as alignment. Then he spoke. "And how would this apply across the development life cycle?" Julian Price inclined his head slightly, as though the question had been anticipated. "Seamlessly," he said, and Leah Silkstone elaborated. "From clinical outcome assessment, item generation, to informed consent, to linguistic validation, to patient information leaflets, to pharmacovigilance, risk minimization communications, the system learns the structure of meaning once and then expresses it everywhere." Peter Thistlethwaite nodded and noted this down. He would later, much later, be asked what it meant. He wouldn't know. The meeting concluded without resistance or interrogation, and there were the usual phrases of "how interesting," "worth exploring," and "forward thinking," and a general sense that something significant had been presented, though its substance remained without any tangible form to speak of. Nobody could really explain what it is exactly that they were being sold. Later, in a smaller room, Sebastian Pyle's team gathered. For a moment, nobody spoke. Colin Throckmorton thought to himself, "I'm not entirely sure," but articulated none of this. Alistair Pembley Ward's inner voice said, "From a compliance perspective, it could be dodgy," but kept quiet. And finally, Hannah Peregrine said, "It's compelling." Everybody looked to Sebastian Pyle. He wasn't thinking about the system or the workflow, but about scale. He was thinking about visibility and taking ownership of it. He was thinking about being invited as a partner in the boardroom. "This," he said, "is exactly the kind of initiative we should be leading. And to be clear," he continued, "we do not run this alongside existing processes. That would defeat the purpose." Nobody interrupted him. "People doing translation, review and proofreading," he said, "these are no longer core activities. They are constraints. The system replaces them." Peter Thistlethwaite stopped writing briefly. "We retain oversight," Sebastian Pyle added. "A light touch review, a final sign-off where required, but the production itself," he paused just long enough, "will be automated." Daniela Fortescue did not look up. "And medical writing?" Hannah Peregrine asked. "The same principle applies," he said. "Drafting, iteration, structuring, all of it, we move from authorship to supervision." Colin Throckmorton nodded slowly. So the human role is assurance, Sebastian Pyle said, not creation. There was a moment in which this settled. Alistair Pemberley Ward adjusted his pen, and this time he did not write anything down. Good, Sebastian Pyle said. Then we proceed. And so the work began. Over the following weeks, a system was developed, demonstrated, and gradually embedded. The work, as it came to be known, appeared first in isolated instances, then across programs, and finally throughout the development life cycle. It generated candidate items for clinical outcome assessments, thousands of them in minutes. It drafted informed consent materials. It produced translations in languages that until now required careful, time-consuming engagement, such as Lao, Uzbek, Hiligaynon, Kinyarwanda. It handled the entire linguistic validation and even, as proof of concept, generated cognitive debriefing data of simulated patients in 30 languages. It was used to write patient information leaflets, to do readability testing and pharmacovigilance communications. Everywhere language was required, the work was present, and everywhere it appeared, it carried a peculiar quality when it was cross-checked with native language specialists. They reported that the output was fluent and complete, and in many ways it was correct, and yet something was not quite right. The words were there, but the meaning seemed thin, as though it had travelled through the text but never really took root in it. There was just something not right. Still, nobody said anything about this. Before rollout, the outputs were tested on native-speaking panels, and each person was presented with the materials. They read them, they paused, and the feedback was unanimous. This is not quite natural. I understand the words, but not fully. It doesn't sound like how we would say this. Nobody here would say it like this. There was a pause after the findings were presented. Not a long one, but long enough for the possibility of doubt to exist, however briefly. Julian Price spoke first. This is nothing new to us at Global Language Optimization Limited. What we are seeing, he said, is not a failure of the system, but a transitional response to it. Leah Silkstone inclined her head slightly as though this had already been agreed. Core, trademark, outputs are, she said, by definition, contextually optimized. They are internally coherent across use cases, languages, and communicative settings. The question, therefore, is not whether the outputs are correct, but how quickly users are able to align with them. Daniela Fortescue looked down at the feedback again. They're saying it's not natural, she said. Natural, Julian Price repeated, not dismissively, but with a kind of measured interest. Natural, yes, but natural according to what baseline? Nobody answered. For a long time, he continued, language has been shaped by local convention, inconsistency, irregularities, and inefficiencies. If we are being completely candid, what core, trademark, does is remove that variability. It establishes a stable, optimized form of expression. Leah Silkstone smiled and added, if you disturb a surface, she said, dust rises. For a moment everything appears less clear. You see particles you didn't notice before. There is movement, opacity, and even resistance. She paused, allowing the image to settle. But what we often mistake for disruption is simply the process of resettling. Over time, the dust does not return to where it was. It settles differently, more evenly, more efficiently. There was a brief silence. What you are hearing, she continued, is that moment in which the dust is still in the air. Hannah Peregrine leaned forward slightly. So the issue isn't the content? No. The content is fully aligned, Leah Silkstone said. It has passed through core, trademark. This appeared to settle something. Colin Throckmorton nodded slowly. So it is more of a change management question, he said. Precisely, said Julian Price. Adoption, not correction, and adapting. Those speakers of those languages will simply adapt to the way core, trademark, outputs are expressed. There was a moment in which this argument became accepted. Leah Silkstone continued. Over time, these forms will become the norm. Expression stabilizes around them. We have seen this in early deployments. In other words, Julian Price added, core, trademark, is not adapting to language. Language is adapting to core, trademark. Peter Thistlethwaite wrote this down. Daniela Fortescue hesitated, then closed her notebook. And the participant panels? She asked. Oh, they are invaluable, Leah Silkstone said. They help us identify where alignment has not yet been achieved. Sebastian Pyle nodded. Good, he said. And so the rollout continued. At first the program appeared successful. Sebastian Pyle was invited to lunch with the chairman. Then the first letter arrived. List of outstanding issues from the European Medicines Agency. Subject, deficiency notice, patient-facing materials. Dear Mr. Pyle, following review of submitted materials, the agency notes the following. Translated content does not reflect natural or commonly used expressions within target populations. Evidence of conceptual equivalence across languages is insufficient. Cognitive debriefing findings indicate consistent issues with comprehension and interpretation. Participant feedback has been recorded but not adequately addressed. Furthermore, the use of automated systems, including those described as contextual rendering engines, does not in itself constitute evidence of validity. Standardization and scalability do not replace demonstrable patient understanding. The agency requests revision of all affected materials, submission of direct evidence demonstrating patient comprehension, confirmation of culturally appropriate language use across all relevant markets. Yours sincerely, European Medicines Agency. Further letters followed, shorter, more direct. Recurring evidence of participant misunderstanding not addressed. Readability testing does not demonstrate effective comprehension. Translated pharmacovigilance materials do not reflect locally meaningful expressions of risk. Then came the letters about the recent Romanian case. A safety communication translated into Romanian was not interpreted as intended. Prior user testing had identified comprehension difficulties. No substantive revisions were made. The incident has been publicly reported. Local affiliate engaged with health authorities and police. A pediatric fatality has been reported. And a link between the fatality and your risk minimization content has clearly been established. At an ill-tempered review meeting, when the letters had already begun to accumulate and the explanations had grown thinner with each question, a voice spoke from the back of the room. Luke Plain, junior associate in content operations, who had been in the role for scarcely 2 weeks. He is in post before even completing his final undergraduate exams. He had not attended any of the early meetings. He was not at the company as the system was being developed and rolled out. He had simply read the documents and played around with the work and core trademark. It isn't working, he said. The room turned to him abruptly. What could this kid possibly know? Thought Alistair Pembley Ward. This is what they told us, Luke Plain continued. In the testing, we wrote it down. We knew it wasn't natural. We knew people were struggling with it. A pause. We just decided it didn't matter. Silence. I've been using it, he said. The system, and looking under the bonnet a bit, it's basically just ChatGPT. Everybody is listening intently. It's the same outputs, the same phrasing. There isn't anything proprietary at all in what Global Language Optimization Limited gave us. Core, trademark, isn't a system, it's just a layer, and it's something that could have been developed in 15 minutes tops. So all those months of development and iterations were basically a massive con. Nobody dared to move. It's the public version, he said. We've been putting all our confidential materials into it and getting them back. The realization arrived all at once and in unison. It showed itself in the sudden absence of note-taking and nodding. The room seemed to hold its breath. Again, almost in unison, they turned to Sebastian Pyle. He did not speak. There was no defence. £4.8 million in the development fees paid to Global Language Optimization Limited for literally nothing in return. Attempts to re-establish contact with Global Language Optimization Limited produced only the same automated replies. The last message received from Julian Price made brief reference to being in Curaçao with limited connectivity and an intention to respond upon return. He never did. In the days that followed, more letters arrived, some from inside the organisation, written carefully and shared only with a few people. Others came from outside, less formal, more direct and harder to explain away. The Romanian case, now widely reported, a whole community rocked by grief, moved beyond emails and into formal class action, with local authorities involved. It could no longer be kept within the usual channels. And it was shortly after this that the internal letters were issued. They didn't arrive all at once, nor were they announced. They appeared rather in the way such things often do, individually and without elaboration. Each bore the same heading: Notice of Immediate Termination of Role. They were addressed in turn to Mr. Alistair Pembley Ward, to Dr. Daniela Fortescue, to Dr. Colin Throckmorton, to Miss Hannah Peregrine, and to Mr. Peter Thistlethwaite. The language was consistent across them, neither harsh nor conciliatory, and notable chiefly for its absence of explanation. In due course, the board appointments were announced. Sebastian Pyle was not among them. He received his letter last. It was delivered to him in the same manner as the others, though not at the same time. And when he opened it, he found it differed in no material way to those already issued. The wording was identical. The conclusion was the same. He read it once. Then, without comment, he placed it on his desk. Beneath it lay the earlier correspondence from the European Medicines Agency, the first letter, now joined by several others, each more concise than the last. In the weeks that followed, much of what had been built was reviewed, revised, or set aside. Documents were rewritten, processes reconsidered, and questions asked with a degree of directness that had not previously been possible. The work was ripped out of all workflows within the corporation. No single moment marked the end of the program. There was no announcement, but what remained instead was a record of a wound. Not only of what had been produced, but of what had been observed and of what had been said. For the participants had spoken, they had done so consistently and early, and those whose responsibility it had been to listen had, for reasons that seemed sufficient at the time, chosen complicity and assent. In the end, the problem wasn't the tool itself, but the people who didn't understand what they were buying, were not diligent in their selection of tool, and who, even when they sensed something was very off, chose not to say so. Thank you for listening. Mark Gibson, Leeds, United Kingdom, April 2026.